afternoon, Mzansi, and welcome to Afternoon Express. Today, Dr. Justin Cohen shares how stress impacts our focus, and he'll also give us tips on how to focus. We're also going to look at brain food that boosts our concentration, and Chef Jay will be whipping up a Spanish omelette to keep you on the ball all day. But now, to my first guest. Now, our lives are filled with distractions from WhatsApp messages, TikTok, Instagram, emails. The list is endless. How do we stay focused amongst all this clutter, and what is the role of stress in all of this? Our good friend, Dr. Justin Cohen, is on the couch to help us manage these distractions. There's a lot that's going on there, right? TikTok, Instagram, WhatsApp messages, notifications. I turn my notifications off. There's just way too much.
I mean, I can barely keep my attention on what you're saying. There's so much going on there. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good call, right?
Yeah.
Because so much of it is digital. It's coming in at you, and you've got to manage that.
Yes.
So put all the social media in a folder. If you don't want it to be in your face, put it on a back screen, and make a decision that you're only going to go to. Don't have push notifications, right? Then you choose, right? Either you can be the slave or you can be the master. It's your choice here.
I love that, Doctor. Let's start with, what is focus?
What is focus? He says defocusing. I mean, look, the best analogy I can think of, you got the sun, right? There's a lot of beautiful energy there. But the sun it's unusual for a fire to just emerge with the sunshine, right? But you focus that sun's energy through a magnifying glass and you put it on some kindling, and within 30 seconds you're going to have a fire, right? Yes. That's the power of focus. It concentrates energy and our cognition, our thinking, right?
Yes.
That's focus. So it is, if you're really going to complete a task, if you're going to come up with a great idea, if you're going to fulfill any of your goals or objectives, you need that focus.
So are there different types of focus? Like the one you're explaining to me now sounds something like a laser focus. You know, I, as a human being, but as a mom, as a partner, all these different hats that I wear, I find that I can't laser focus into everything all the time.
Right, and I don't think you need to. This idea that you have to have a singular focus, I mean, that would be problematic, right? As you say, you've got a whole bunch of things going on, and you need to have your peripheral awareness too, right?
Yes.
I mean, if I came into this conversation with a laser focus about what I wanted to share with you, then I would not have the awareness of, you know, your questions or where this conversation was going. That's the beautiful thing about a conversation, right? It's not a monologue. It means that you have there's even a dual awareness here. It's about focus here. It's what I'm saying, but what you're saying, right? So absolutely. And if something happens and there's, you know, something that goes on down there all of a sudden, and we need to be aware of it just in case, you know, there's an emergency. So we need peripheral awareness.
How then do we navigate our world with what you said, but also make our dreams and our goals materialize? Because that's going to require some sort of focus in order for me to have a dream and then make that dream materialize. Like, say, for example, I want to build a business.
Right.
It's going to take attention.
Right. And look, reading a book takes attention. And we're finding people are reading less and less because they're so used to having this flickering attention, right? A kind of TikTok attention, right? Where you're jumping from thing to thing. And so we do need sustained attention. So rather than laser focus, let's think of, are we able to sustain our attention on a task? Are we able to avoid distractions? Are we able to direct or redirect our attention, right? Are we in charge of our attention? Now, the extreme inability would be something like ADHD, right? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And certainly as a kid, I think I probably was prone to that. I might still be a little bit. You'll see it with a little bit of fidgeting. These are, you know, people need this kind of stimulation to keep themselves focused. And by the way, that's why stress is not the baddie here, right? Yeah. Stress is just arousal, and we need a certain amount of arousal to focus, to have our attention, right?
So speak to us about that. stress in relation to focus?
Well, the famous Yerkes-Dodson stress curve, you've got your y-axis and x-axis, performance is on the y. As stress, which is just arousal, increases, so does performance. Right? Think about it. You've got no stress, no arousal, you're either dead or asleep. Once we're feeling anxious, we can't think clearly, there's too much coming at us, then we need to reduce the stress. So think of stress as the accelerator and relaxation as the brake.
Okay.
And the problem is, for many of us, we're in a distressed state. We've got too much stress going on. Now,
so distress is too much stress?
It's too much for our environment.
Okay.
So what we now need to do is recognize, start with awareness, recognize, whoa, I'm in over-rev state, I've got too much acceleration, I need to put on the brake. Right? And I need to essentially pull arousal down, and that is actually going to help me to focus.
How do we recognize that? How do we pinpoint that? If we're someone that's struggling with awareness, how do we recognize that it's time to do something before it becomes detrimental and chronic? And I'd love you to speak about chronic stress as well. How do we recognize that?
Well, for each person it's going to be different. But when we say I lost my temper, what is actually going on there? Okay. Losing your temper is losing your higher cortex. Now, the brain is complex, but for our purpose, we've got two brains. Higher brain, prefrontal neocortex, that's where we focus.
Okay.
That's where we're creative. That's where we're compassionate, by the way. That's where a lot of our values are. Lower brain, fight or flight, survival, attack, defend, right? So, there's actually a number of personalities inside us, really, right? You can be like really compassionate and kind and caring, and then not so much.
Yeah.
When you find yourself losing your temper, when your voice is rising, when you feel that you're stepping outside of your values, when you can't focus again, right? When you start to get frazzled, then you know that you are in that overstressed state. And what we actually see, Z, it's a beautiful thing, and we can actually re-engage that higher brain. And we can talk about how we do that, actually within a few seconds. To your point, we first have to notice that it's happening, and then we can put the brake on. Now, sometimes you get so involved, you only notice it afterwards, right? But even afterwards is better than nothing, right? If you're in mid-argument and you're realizing that you're raising your voice or you're saying something unkind, you can, in that moment, right, step back and re-engage your focus and take your foot off the accelerator. Okay,
great. So you're going to discuss more of that with us in our following segment, and I absolutely love that. I love the idea of losing our temper. It's almost like that hijack moment that happens, right? Where you're like, who is that, and what has she done with Zoraida? so you're going to give us the tips for that, which I'm absolutely looking forward to. I love the energy that you bring to our set, Justin. It's always lovely having you here. Remember, folks, where you place your attention is where your energy goes. Prioritize wisely and remember to stay focused. Stay tuned, because a little later, Dr. Justin Cohen will share a few tips on how to keep your focus. And then on social media, we would like to know from you, what is the biggest challenge that you face in maintaining focus? Remember to use the hashtag #AfternoonExpress.